Now in this video we're going to demonstrate how to create a rotated staggered pattern using a combination of linked patterns. So to begin with, we'll select the part, right click, set as active, and then dragging the rollback state all the way back to the original cavity body. And I'm just going to rotate this up here, and we want to create a rotated pattern of this. And so to begin with, we're going to bring in a sketch, a layout sketch, and just drop it onto this face here. And then right click on the sketch in the scene browser and go edit position, because we're going to constrain the position of the sketch so that it follows this body. Now it's constrained to that plane, which is what I want, but I want the origin to be constrained to this point on the body, and I also want it to be fixed. So I need to select this option, fix to reference. So that guarantees that this sketch is always going to follow this body wherever this body is moved. So go OK. So the next thing is that to use the circular pattern tool, we need an axis to rotate about. And so we can use the structured part datum axis and apply that and have it here off our sketch. But we're going to use extrude a surface body just for demonstration purposes. So with the sketch selected, right click and create an extrude. Now instead of extruding a solid, because the sketch consists of open paths or open lines, we're generating as a surface, and so that's what's selected as a surface over on the right. Now it's extruding upwards 50 millimeters. The height's not important, and even the direction is not important. So if it's extruding up away from the part, then that's fine. Now the color of these surfaces is the same as the color of the part. Within a structured part, all of the bodies will adopt the same color of the part. However, we do have the ability to color faces separately, and so we'll do that again just for demonstration purposes. And so in the bottom right there's a selection filter, and I'm going to select face. So what we're telling here is that I'm just going to do a box selection, and IronCAD, I only want you to select the faces that are cut by this box. So they're all highlighted, and now over in the right in the properties panel I can select a different color to be applied to those faces. I'm happy with that. Click on the scene. Now I'm going to give a name to this surface body here, and we'll call it our not a sketch, layout body. And as you can see in the bodies list here, it's got a body number 5, and so I'm just going to add that into the name just to help identify it, comparing it to other bodies. Alright, now that we've got our rotation axis, which is going to be this place here, we can use our rotation tool. Now regarding these other surfaces, they indicate where other bodies are going to be positioned patterning wise. So going to our feature tab on the ribbon, select pattern feature and select circular pattern. And the first thing to be highlighted is the axis of rotation. So let's select our cylinder here. And now it wants to know, well, what features am I patterning? So we'll select that first body. And down below here we've got various options regarding whether we want the fixed space or we want evenly spaced. So I want evenly spaced number through 360 degrees, and I want 2 copies. So I could select 4 copies if I wanted, and you can see I could have 4 rotated copies, linked pattern, but we'll stay with 2. And in the circular pattern I don't need this pattern here, so I'm going to instruct IronCAD to skip that first one, which is where the original body is. And also we'll go OK, and we'll give a name to this. So our first body, we'll rename that as body 1, and this second body we'll call body 2. cavity body 2. Now they're both part of the same body here. So if I select the body, they're both selected. If I select them as features, then they show independently. Right, so now I want to, I've got my rotated pattern. We'll demonstrate the purpose for that sketch. So well, actually, first thing is that I don't need this body anymore. So select the body, the sheet body, right click on it and go delete body, and then OK. And we'll give a name to that. So I'll just copy and paste here, and I'll put delete here. So again, it's to help me recognize that I've just deleted body 5. And now to demonstrate that sketch. So if I select the sketch, it shows the underlying dimensions, and each of these dimensions is a parameter within that sketch. And so because this pattern is being driven by the location of the cylinder that was here, if I change any of these dimensions, that center is going to move. So we'll change 50 to 35, and we'll change 70 to 50. And these other dimensions, the 140 here and the 140 here, they are the distances that I want to use for the fill patterns later to follow. So I want them all to be driven by that one sketch. So we'll advance now to our existing fill pattern feature, and I want to make sure that this here, we're going to look at the parameters of that's currently driving that pattern. So select our patterns, and these are the default names that have been given to this particular feature. So I'm just going to expand here. So these are the parameters of this particular feature, and I'm going to give them a different name. I'm just going to put fill pattern in front just to make it easy for me to identify. Control copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. And I'm going to create an additional parameter here, add parameter, Control V angle, and select this as angle here. And I can just leave this as 0 for now. Now I want to link these parameters to my sketch. So over here in my browser, if I select the layout sketch, it shows those dimensions in that sketch. And so I want to link these fill pattern ones to my pattern. To do that, I need to see them all in the one page, and so I need to select at the part level and ensure that this checkbox here is selected. So I can see my sketch parameters here, and it's these ones here, the fill ones that I'm particularly interested in. And then if I look down here, I can see here's my tray cavity pattern here. And so I want to populate these with references to these ones here. So we'll start off with the angle. So my fill pattern angle from my sketch, I'm just going to do Control C to copy, and then down here to the equivalent angle. So at the moment the value is 0, and when I Control V here to paste, that value there is changed to 90 because that's the value up here. So I'll do the next one, which is our distance 1, Control C to copy, and Control V to paste here. And we'll do the next one, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So now I've linked this pattern to that sketch, and we'll go apply. And I'm going to now just check the features of this pattern. So I've selected the pattern by itself, and it's showing me the parameters here. I'm just going to do a little trick. I'm just going to Control copy that name, that fill pattern angle, and I'm going to right click here and go edit feature options. Because if I now look at the properties panel on the right, you'll see that it's showing the parameter names that I've linked, but except for this angle. And so this is where I'm going to Control V to paste that parameter name and go OK. So now that this existing pattern is being driven by this sketch. If I change this sketch, if I change values here, let's say from that to, let's say 70, then the pattern changes. So I'll stick this back to say 140. So my sketch is driving that. What this pattern currently isn't doing is patterning this other body. So if I right click and edit those options, within the features to be patterned, I can add that second pattern, that second body, and it gives the preview. Now what IronCAD's trying to do here is it's treating those two bodies as a single body, and it's trying to find the space to position it. Now I've got a gap of 140 mil. If I go to my sketch here and reduce that, let's say 100, okay, so it's fitting more in. But I could, if these were individually patterned, then it could potentially add another row down here. It could potentially add another one of these bodies over here. But it's constrained that it's trying to fit the two of them together. So to get around that, we can create two separate patterns. So I'm going to set this back, that value back, and edit this feature and remove that second body from it, and go through the process of adding a second pattern. And I need to change the order of my assembly structure in the scene browser, and it has to do with how these fill patterns work. So I need to move the other pattern, the other body, out to afterwards. So I'm going to first take the this feature here, which were deleted, and I'm just going to drag that down, and then I'm going to drag this one here. Now I was expecting that, so we'll just close that error, and we'll drag this down as well. All right. So that's moved, and then the last one is this body here. So once this is moved down, then that error won't come up anymore. So I've moved this, this, and this to after that. So basically I've now got my area and my pattern. Now one of the things with the fill pattern is that it won't pattern another pattern by itself. So it worked in this pattern up here because I was patterning this pattern with another feature that was on that face. But now that I'm moving it separately, IronCAD won't let me just pattern this this pattern. So I need to create a feature on the surface that I want to pattern on. And then the other thing is that IronCAD's not going to let me properly fill this face with another pattern. So I'm going to use this bottom face to achieve what I want. So what I need is I need to have a feature that is on this face, and I want that feature to have the basic outline of my body up here, because that outline body here I want to make sure that it stays within that area. So to do that, we're going to create our new a new feature here. Now I'm just going to drag in a standard extrude shape onto this face. And so in our scene browser here, it's we'll go to the sketch of, I'm just wondering what's happened to my, Let's try recreate display. Oh yeah, that's better. So go to the underlying sketch of that block, and I'm going to constrain it. So edit the position. I want it on that plane, and that's where it is. But the origin point, I want that to follow the center of that patterned body, and the X, everything else, and I want it fixed to reference. So now I want to edit the geometry of that sketch. So edit the sketch itself, and I'm going to delete that existing geometry. And on my right here, I want to display the rest of my scene. And now I'm going to project the outline of that pattern body. So project constrain, and I'm going to select these edges here. And select the tool again to complete it. And I'm just going to hide that other geometry so we can see it. Now I'm going to add a little, I've got a sharp vertices here, so I'm going to put a little fillet in there, and that's just to save some potential confusion of the sketch later on when it moves. So I'll just give it a value, and I'll use the equal length constraint to make these two fillets the same, and we'll go OK. So I've got a sketch, this block, the extrusion length of this, I can click on that handle, and the height's not important at all, it's just so that I can select it, and we'll give it a name. So this is going to be related to our cavity body 2, so we'll give it that name, and it is fill pattern feature. So I'm putting this in the name to remind me why it's there. So it's to help us with our fill pattern. Right. And the important thing is that that feature is on this face, which I'm now going to use for our next pattern. So pattern next, and it's a fill pattern selection. The features, it's select our feature that we've just created, and that's on that face, so that's going to work. And now I'm going to now I can add that other body to it. And I can select the filling boundary, which is that face. Again, we're doing the underside, and the axis, well, I just want it the same as previously, which is this edge here. And again, I've got a preview, and I'm just going to leave these values here for now, because we're going to now link this pattern with the our sketch pattern. So we'll give this a name. So this is, whereas this was pattern 1 for our body 1, we'll do Control C, Control V, and this is our pattern for 2. So we'll go through the same process of the parameter names. So right click, go to parameters, it's listing here the parameters just of that feature, so I'll give that a name, the same fill pattern. Just going to Control C, Control V, Control V. Now I'm going to add a new parameter, Control V, angle, select angle. The value is not important at the moment. Apply, and now I'm going to link the select I'll just close this and go back again, parameters. And now I can see all my parameters at the part level. Again, I've got that selected. And I want to copy from the sketch pattern. I want the fill pattern angle. And I want that in here. So this is my pattern 2. Okay, and I don't know why it's moved from this one, but I'm going to put that back in here. So that should have been there as well. Then I want my distance 1. So circular pattern here. So distance 1. Control C. I want that here. Distance 2. Control C. Control V. So now I've got my pattern 2, which is being driven by values coming from my layout sketch, and I've got pattern 1, which is also being driven by those same values. Go apply. Alright. So now it's a case of setting the values that are going to populate this area. So copy to, go to our sketch, and I'll try changing this value here to 95. And so both patterns have changed, and we'll try this to 130. So that's our first pattern, and that's that's the first pattern. That was the second pattern, and just checking why it hasn't populated. Check the size of the area. Just so that's our tray area. So let's check this. Okay, that's why. So I need 360. It's recalculating, that's good. And our tray area again in this direction, yeah, it was 360 as well. Yep, good. So now that's doing what we want. If everything's being driven by that sketch. If I want to better populate, well, this here doesn't look quite right. So I'll just do a rebuild. It's going to roll back. That one there. I'm just going to check the position of my sketch, and that's correct. And check the parameter values of this one. So edit. That's right, I forgot here to put in the parameter name. So fill pattern angle. So that there now should, and let's try rebuild. And check those parameters. 130, no, there. So let's go back. So it's dropped that. So from my sketch, it was that angle there. Control C, Control V, there. There we are. That's what it should be doing. Now to better populate that, again, this is all being driven by the position of the original cavity body. So I've got it selected, got the triball. Let's say move this 48 millimeters to see how everything recalculates, and so that looks as though that's a better use of that area. I'll select that body again and I'll move it back to 0, 0 to where it should be. I'll recalculate, and again if I move it 18 millimeters this way, it should regenerate over here and give us a better fill as well. Good. So that's all behaving as it should. So I'll move that body back to originally where it was, lock that top face, and I want that at 0, 0. And all going well, I should be able to roll back to the end. And I've got my completed model, and I can test with, say, some different values here. Well, let's deactivate the part first because I'm not adding any more geometry to it, and we'll make some changes to the area. So I'm just going to drag out a value just to see if everything is recalculating as it should.